We turn to an expert on this topic, our author Luke Burgis, entrepreneur in residence at the Ciocca Center for Principled Entrepreneurship at the Catholic University of America. Luke, thank you for being with us. You wrote a book on living vocationally called Unrepeatable. I just finished it. It's fantastic. Tell us about this and how it describes the process of discernment and cultivating a vocation for a person.
Hi, Montse. Good to be with you. So the title Unrepeatable comes from this fantastic idea that each of us has a unique and unrepeatable way of manifesting God's love in the world. And it's a way that only we can do. It's a way that only we can show to the world. And if we don't do that, it's lost to the world forever. So this is the reality of personal vocation, which is a really key part of church teaching. And it's the idea that each of us has a project of our lives that was given to us before God even knitted us together in the womb. So we have it from the very beginning of our life, long before we've even discerned our state in life or begun to live it out. So personal vocation is this reality of the way that we're uniquely called to live out the call to holiness. And the state in life is the way, the form that our personal vocation takes in the world. Same with our work. So the work becomes one manifestation of our personal vocation, but that personal vocation is the thread that runs through all of them. So I had a good friend of mine who discerned that, her personal vocation seemed to be manifesting the creativity of God and God's creative goodness in the world. And she was doing that long before she got married in high school. She did that in a slightly different way after she was married. And then she's done it a little bit differently in the different jobs that she's had. But that thread of personal vocation has run through her entire life and has given it a unity of life, which is a beautiful part of what a vocation means.
Absolutely. So let's dig into that. For many people, young and old, the call to marriage doesn't come. Some people can feel inadequate or uneasy with that or let down. But you noted that marriage and the family or the priesthood subsist within personal vocation. Give us a little more on that.
Right. So personal vocation grounds us in the now. I lived most of my life as a Catholic thinking that vocation was always something that would happen later when I discerned my state in life. And it took me quite a while to discern my state in life. And that can be a painful feeling, especially for a single Catholic who desires to be married, for instance. But when I understood that I had a personal vocation and I had it at that moment to begin living that day, and that there was a continual process of discernment, and that the more faithfully I lived out my personal vocation, the easier it was going to be for me to understand what God was asking of me. It actually became a key for me to discern my very state in life. So it grounds us in the present, it grounds us in the now, and it's a call to continual discernment and how God is asking us to manifest that personal vocation in the world. And it could happen through various states in life, or we may be called to just sit in that place where we're called at that moment. So this is why I think personal vocation is such an important concept for Catholics and for renewal in the church, because it grounds us in the present.
You know, it's something that I live with personally, and it was a great solace to me to read in your book about this description of subsisting within everything else within vocation, because I find it reductive to think about vocation as bound to marriage and family life. It's so much bigger than that, the way that God sees us. So when you discuss this unique role that we have to play, how is that call something that Pope Francis is leaning into for the single people in the church, and why is it so important today?
Well, you just have a tremendous contribution to make as a single Catholic to the sanctification of the world and the people around you in the specific circumstances that you're presently in. So, I mean, obviously you're called to holiness. If you're a single Catholic, you're called to chastity. There are certain things, or just living as a faithful Catholic, that we're all called to. But then there's a personal and specific way that you're being called to manifest that vocation. And figuring that out is what you're called to do, and living that out faithfully. And I think creatively is an important part of that. So, if you're a single Catholic, for instance, and you have a desire for family culture and family life, what are the ways in which you can contribute to that even as a single Catholic by entering into families and sharing your gifts and talents with them? And also, focusing on the gifts that you have. Okay, as a single Catholic, it might be more flexibility. It might be more time for prayer, What are the things that have been given to you, the gifts that have been given to you that you can sow into and make fruitful? So that again comes back to that idea of you have a personal vocation and you have it now, before you may have even fully discerned your state in life or the specific project that you have.
So then the last question about this, because I do want everyone to read your book, you talked about a process for discerning this calling, discerning your real vocation. Give us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, and the process, should never be done alone. Good mentors, holy mentors, whether it's a priest or friends and family, people that truly care about you, that can help you discern God's call in your life. So there's a really important social dimension to this. And frankly, it's one of the most important missions of the church. John Paul II talked about this a lot in his pontificate, that one of the key missions of the church is helping every Catholic discern and live out their personal vocation. And each of us has a responsibility to one another to play a role as a midwife, so to speak, to the personal vocations of other people. And, another simple way, there's no substitute for prayer as well. So prayer, entering into relationships, and developing a constant habit of discernment, a constant habit and state of discernment. Unfortunately, I didn't learn how to discern. I'd never even heard the word until I was in my late 20s. And I think in our schools and our families, teaching children skills of discernment will help people be able to identify and live out their personal vocations earlier in life.
Absolutely, and not putting the burden only on the single person, but asking families to be generous with what they have so that we can enter into it. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Luke. I really appreciate you being with us to explain this. I hope everyone will read your book.
Thank you, Montse.